Hello, welcome back to another day of Axie Origins. Team highlight and meta analysis. Today is day 8, which is an interesting day because today is the day where the runes and charms are finally on the marketplace, and so you might see some shakeup on the leaderboard. And let's just see how it actually affects anything. So here, let's just see. Shushi is pretty high up, and we do have Hiki on top now. Wow, actually very high on top in the sense that it's quite a bit further up than Shushi. So wow, very amazing team. Of course, now getting a lot of the epic runes which are now available to buy. So now you can see that most of the top teams do have feature some epic runes, and this is actually the first one that doesn't have an epic rune. Still very strong. So you can see actually now there are quite a bit more. You can see a whole chunk of sustain build that's getting into challenger. And then there is a poison as well, so poison can make it up there, the beast rage, and then also just the typical aggro. So all sort of team can get up there, but you can see it's actually mostly dominated by the sustain. And then a bit further down, still very strong because these are all challengers as well. More people definitely get into challenger, a lot of people actually, with the more aggressive kind of build, or with pendulum scale as well. And you'll see later on I actually do a bit of a market analysis. And this is really the only one that only features common, which is definitely very interesting to look at. I look at this team for maybe either this or next episode. Let's see. Let's just go down first, and then so it's a lot of epic runes do come up now because it is available, but interesting is not everyone opt to actually get the epic rune because there is gonna be a balance change that's happening soon as well, so that's why people are a bit wary about spending a lot of money on a particular rune that might get nerfed. So but you do see that the meta is pretty similar, except that there are more epic runes. Of course, we do get to day 8 already. A lot of people manage to craft the epic runes, and I was gonna look. I looked at someone just now. Let me just see without an there. So let's say for example, Akarin Kura. I'm pretty sure they have probably got an epic rune by now. Of course, might not be. All right. Might just be very unlucky. But then just choose to stick with the rare rune. So maybe sometimes epic runes might just not fit a particular team and so on. And maybe having the rare ones, or especially pendulum scale being a rare rune, still very very common. Also arcane protection as well. Okay, let's not talk too much. Actually, what I want to do today is something extra as well, which is to actually look at the marketplace. So here you can see I did filter by rare. So just look at only the rare runes, and you can see that most of the rare runes don't really sell for that much. The only exception really is pendulum scale. This is very strong. So the price does give you a reflection of the power level, so you can see Energy Guru is also very strong. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that everyone, once they get to level 5, does get to pick one. So meaning, let's say once you get to level 5, you get to pick a rare rune of your choice, right? And probably I would say most people will just get the pendulum scale, and the main thing is that you only need one pendulum scale in most teams, right? So then there's not much incentive to actually buy it if you can already get one for free. So I think that's why the prices are definitely not as high as you would expect. Hardy Warrior also pretty high as well, so these definitely you can see are the most common 3, right? Energy Guru, Hearty Warrior, and definitely pendulum scale. Okay, let's just see. I don't think there's any mistake. Oh, there. Sorry. I think I got the wrong filter. Yeah, this definitely doesn't do anything. Okay, so let's just do epic. Oh, I see. I have to cancel that. Okay, so you can see, right? Nobody has got to Mystic yet, as you would expect. So let's just see Epic. So Epic, oh wow, Bloodlust nobody's selling. So meaning, I feel like those just get either, oh no, there are people who are selling, right? So for 300, insane prices at this point. Let's see. Yeah, Raven's Tactic as well. Let's just see how other ones goes. Alright, 100 and something as well. So you can see I'm not sure why there's a bug where it doesn't show. Let me just refresh it. Maybe it will show. Yeah, okay, it does show. Right. Which ones are the so-called better ones? And oh wow, Poison Touch is actually the one that is the most expensive epic. Wow. Okay. So you can see Poison Touch, Bloodlust, and the Dominant Predator are probably the most dominant one. Yeah, unfortunately, if you get one of these, it's less profitable, but still can sell for quite a bit. I'm not actually sure like what are the whether actually anyone bought any of these yet. I'm not too sure because the prices are pretty high, but you never know. And let's look at the charms. So I did filter by rare, and you can see rare, pretty much none of them are profitable except if you do have Aqua Charm Vitality 1. This actually can sell quite a bit. So do consider minting this one if you want to make a bit of profit. And let's see. As for Epic, which I'm not sure why it's not happening. Let me clear the filter, do the Epic. So this is all the Epic ones, and interestingly, not many people are selling yet. And wow, one of these charms costs yeah, Aqua, really a lot of people playing 68. Yeah, I would say the Gecko Mask definitely very strong. Oh my goodness, so Master Frenzy, I'm not too sure if anyone actually buys it, but 200. Let's see. Wow. Yeah, okay, I think this is not the latest, is it? Let me just refresh it and see. Okay, the price does drop a bit for this one because I don't think this is such a OP rune, so for $100. But yeah, there are people who not rune charms. There are people who do buy it probably, and yes, Bubblegum is another one that you should look at. So the marketplace does give you an idea of which runes and charms are strong at the moment. Of course, not financial advice because there could be balance, but there will be a balanced patch, and we have no idea what's gonna get buffed and nerfed. So yeah, do think about whether you want to keep the runes and charms, banking on it to get buffed, or you might want to sell it off before they get nerfed. So this is something you might want to think about. Okay, so let's get back to the meta analysis, and today I do want to look at this very top team here, Hiki, because yeah, it's really way ahead of the rest of the pack. So let's just see what's so strong about it. Obviously the rune is going to be pretty strong, especially Race and Rune, which basically is a Race and Rune is a epic rune that basically allows you to instead of shielding, you heal, but then also apply, I think, 35% less of the original shield. So effectively is you do get a lot of value if you do get the healing, but you do get a bit of less shield. So it is a bit of a trade-off, but then usually it gives you pretty good value because you do heal and get a bit of shield. Yeah, so okay, let's just look into the the Axies and see what they're like. Let's just look at the front first then maybe. Okay, so front, top one front plant literally is. So okay, the Sakura is the norm, I would say, for this kind of team with Strawberry. So yeah, so I think we've seen, I think from yesterday or another episode, where you can see Strawberry can be very strong because you can store it and then later on use it as a heal, especially during Blood Moon. And do get a bit of an attack card as well, just to chip the opponent down. Yeah, okay, so very, I would say, pretty typical plant here. And then more healing, and actually I forgot to check Yeah, so this actually plays a carrot, which is interesting because it might be the banish might help as well. Whereas here you can see that you get the pure water, you do get the fear. I think fear is very important, and always for this kind of team we'll have to have some sort of answer to poison. So this is the poison answer, and interestingly run a lotus because this is not a very common card. To remove curse card, I feel like it's one of the ways I think yesterday's episode demonstrated like how you can beat this kind of team could be to shuffle a lot of curse card into your opponent's deck, right? And then once you don't draw into these heals and shield at the end, then then you might be knocked out just because you don't get into those cards. So by removing the curse card actually could play a big part. Maybe it is one of the secret ingredient for success. And of course depends on the meta as well, because a lot of people plays curse card and that will be useful, but if nobody plays curse card then it's probably not going to be too useful. And okay, finally the back with the reptile, Kataro just to ship opponent down, a lot of this reflect just to again ship the opponent down, walk echo I think is a must as well, just to I assume coupled with the charm that applies taunt. And then bleed is pretty interesting. Yeah, so it actually does quite a bit of damage as well in terms of, you know, when the opponent hits you, you do deal quite a bit of damage to them, so you knock them out a bit faster. And I think this is also very key. I think I talked about it many times in sustain builds. AoE clans basically at least counter the either Tri-Feather or Grandma's Fan, that kind of AoE debuff, so can be pretty strong. Okay, so let's actually jump right into the battle and see. Wow, I really have to click load game to load more to see the last one that they lost to. So let me just pick the first one and then see how it goes, because they have just been winning so much. Now Hiki is really having a very good run at this point, but also of course it has to do with the team being very strong. So let's just see how this team actually goes. Okay, taking a bit of time to load. Okay, let's pause the video here. Let's actually go into see the runes and charms. So this one is the pure instinct. Basically, it's just because it's all reptile card anyway, so all these get buffed by 15%. So pretty good. Yep, as you would expect, it is the charm that applies taunt. It's I think pretty much standard. Yep, so Rise and Ruin. Okay, solo, I'll explain what that means. It's basically that you can only run this charm once, in the sense that only one of your Axie can carry this charm. You can't have 3 of your Axie or 2 of your Axies carry this charm. Rune. So shielding cards of this Axie, which you can see have 3 shielding cards. So also restore HP equal to 100% of the shield gain, meaning it heals like say 70 for this card, but gain 35% less shield. So it does give you a bit of shield too, and also the healing. So of course if you play it at full health, doesn't do too it's just less shield, but then usually you want to play these cards when you do have already taken a bit of damage. Then the value is just effectively 65% more value. See that it's interesting to get a leaf here as well. So playing this card gets a leaf. And then let me see the last one. Last one is pretty typical. Just all the as much HP as you can, I think, for the front. Okay, let's see what the opponent does. Pretty typical aggro team with another skip fish, which is interesting for a beast. 1 free energy here, another extra energy here, skip fish as well. Show star very good for getting rid of weakened opponent and ignoring shield. And then finally this is the typical nutcrack at the end, so that you just deal insane damage. So let's just play and see how it goes. Get the carrot value, very good, and then play the Sakura obviously. Obviously not going to play the heal. Let's see how the opponent goes. Okay, do play the current tail. Play the I think play everything, right, because they do have the current tail. I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely play everything at this point. And okay, so dealing quite a bit of damage to the front already, right? So it seems like my opponent is really making quite a bit of progress. So let's see how Hiki is going to yeah, but wow, so a lot of shield and a bit of healing as well. Yes, it seems like pretty hard to get through, even with the vulnerable. Vulnerable very strong, but you can see still not enough to get rid of the or get through the shield. Okay, so this is where you heal. Okay, does not get the guitar value, unfortunately. So yeah, they do miss out on a bit of the damage, which at this point I don't think it matters. So it's more about surviving as long as possible. So if you are the sustained player, you do want to just try to keep your Axie alive as long as possible, so that you basically stall out the turn. That's basically how you think about it, right? It's just to stall to the next turn, so that the Blood Moon comes and this is your win condition, right? So now you try to keep your front alive by taunting. Well, luckily the Rock Echo does come, and yeah, so the opponent probably can't go tick through the front, and then have to go to the back for a while. And of course, with the still skin buff, it's gonna take quite a bit to get through this back, and I don't think it's possible. Even with vulnerable, fragile, so opponent does have all the debuffs, most of the debuffs that's relevant. The only one that's not present is Redoubt. Okay, does get the Katara value this time. Shielding more, yeah, and heal. Okay, do opt to use these as well. Yeah, just use everything. Interesting. Just to make sure that this stays alive, I guess, because did get the fragile and the vulnerable, so it could quite possibly go down if the opponent draws into very, very strong cards. But in this case they didn't. And actually opt to save. Our opponent opt to save the card for some reason as opposed to playing it. So partly because maybe it's a fear. That's why. Okay, so that's more shield, more healing. Now I already start to turn 11. The opponent hasn't made that much of a progress, but do get vulnerable. But yeah, so it's still not managing to get through, unfortunately. I think opponent not getting a great just draw in terms of getting the free energy, because if the opponent did get a extra energy card, maybe it would have been able to take down the front, but no. So now gonna heal, shield, and yep, so just pass the turn back and see how much the opponent can do. Okay, so with the steel skin, it's gonna be pretty tough to get through, yeah, especially without the extra energy. Yeah, okay, do get all the debuff, not all the debuff, at least do the fragile. Okay, but yes, Hiki did draw all the tools that they need with the shield and the heal as well, so pretty much back to how it was. So just keep stalling. It can be very frustrating to play against, I must say, because you just don't feel like you're making much progress and you're just doing what you can. And yeah, very unfortunate. I see the opponent didn't get to get any value using the extra energy, just because you do get confused card at this stage of the draw. And yeah, so Blood Moon is already here, and not much has really happened. And now yep, shielding the front, yeah, shielding more. Even the bleed actually is dealing quite a bit, but still, look at the heal. It's just insane. I think the pure water actually helps a lot. Yeah, so the opponent, they only hope that the Blood Moon can help them in getting the KOs at this point. Yeah, Nutcrack getting to 102, right? It's crazy, but still not managing to pick out the knockout. So now I think the front, I will assume Hiki is probably going to give up the front. Okay, do get the Katara value first, which is pretty lucky, and Walk Echo. Okay, so maybe trying to, not too sure, but I guess all the Axie, all these two, both the mid and the back, are still very healthy. So this is probably definitely the best play. You just have to play to the whatever cards you draw into. Yeah, just very close in the show star range, but just didn't get there. And unfortunately, yes, the Blood Moon also didn't get through. If the Blood Moon get through, it actually doesn't matter at this point because yeah, the opponent is so low already with all the reflex as well. So yeah, very comprehensive win, I would say. Is just the opponent never even touched the mid. Alright, you can see it's just healing the front and then going back to the back and then healing, shielding, and so on. Yeah, the mid just never got touched. So very, very strong. Okay, let's just see. Well, I have to scroll all the way down to see a game where I think that was when they just got to, the Hiki just got to Challenger, and that's a loss. So let's just see how that actually happens. And it is a genuine loss because they did lose some points. So this is something that I do look out for now, because sometimes it can be a draw. If it's a draw, then it will show 0 change in terms of the scores. Okay, so let's see how this one goes. Okay, let me pause the video again. Okay, so this time round, I think pretty similar. I don't think much has changed. Yeah, I think everything looks the same here. And let's see the opponent. Yeah, so ear breathing could be one that is crucial because you do weaken the draw of the opponent, and that's one of the ways maybe you can beat this kind of sustained build. Also, okay, I'm not sure if Pokey actually is another way to beat one of these sustained build. Let's see. I would say Black Mail might play a role as well, just to worsen the draw. Okay, but let's see. Right, turn 1, pretty easy. Putting the Sakura and then actually saving. You can see it saving the Wall Gecko, which is very, very important. Then because you can then divert. Yeah. Oh wait. The opponents. Okay, this is the one of the key, I think, right? The opponents, actually managed to hit the mid, right, which has not been hit before, and the Pokey allows the opponent to actually hit the mid. Okay, now interestingly, not opt for the Walk Echo and really just try to shield, but you can see Pokey, right, allows the opponent to still keep hitting to the mid. Definitely use the Nemo as well and the Pigeon Pose. So you can see Pokey followed by Pokey really does allow you to single out one Axie. And interestingly, opt to play the Mavis. Okay, the Katara not here, so can't really get to the Mavis at this point. So I think the opponent does get the value. So now, as you can see, right, Hiki does try to keep the mid as healthy as possible. So now let's see how the opponents. I think actually ultimately Mavis might be the key to success, right? It does give you an extra energy at this point, so you can see, right, very close to taking down the front. Yeah, I think just missing out on the knockout. But you can see, if it was a stronger single attack, it would have been a knockout. So Hiki might be forced to actually just do everything on the front, but then you can see it's just not as much healing, and this is quite doable in terms of just a KO. And you can see the Mavis really is really the key. I was assume opt for everything in the hope to just hit it a few times, and yes, does get through the front and also getting the value. I couldn't really see the draw pile, but yeah, so you can see the goo is really getting there. Now shielding as much as possible, but you can see, right, that ultimately might draw into the goo, and that might be one of the ways in which you can get through. So Mavis, E-breathing, those are two very important cards. Alright, just do something to at least hit the back. And too much shield at the front, you can't really get through anyway. Okay, more shield, more heals. And opt not to play the goo as well. Playing the shield at the back, I'm actually not too sure why that's necessary. I would rather actually play out the goo. But yeah, I guess fear the Pokey. That's why the shield was important. Probably another Pokey again, just to single out the back. So yeah, a combination of all these tech cards, right, that you don't really see that often. But very lucky for Hiki actually draw into the Wall Gecko this turn, so at least getting the buff. But still, it's going to take quite a bit of damage over turns, just because it's going to be taunted for quite a while. Okay, go with Risky Fish, but at this point it probably has to be everything, even though only shuffling one goo, but still. Not a bad result, because next turn it'll still be taunted, because of the pokey and then also the wall gecko, the charm. So yeah, just trying to really keep the back alive as possible, but you can see that they're not really healing back to full. Let's see how the opponent can get through. Yes, Mavis is really the key, because if Hiki cannot get rid of the Mavis, it's gonna be rough. So let's see if they do get into. Yep. So yeah, as I said, really it's a combination of all these things, right? So cannot use the everything and has to just do the ghoul because it clogged up the draw, right? So couldn't really get another shield, and this is where you do get enough because you have the Mavis. And you just like do the Ronin to KO at the end, I would assume, with the Blood Moon. Yep. And once the back goes down, yeah, so looks like it's gonna be GG's. Back is going down with the Blood Moon. Yep. So now it's gonna be quite rough because only one Axie remaining. Just try to do whatever to shield up. Yeah, just probably put the shield as well. Yeah, you can see how goo actually helps a lot in terms of just damaging opponent's draw. Okay, we're very lucky to get a card draw as well, so I actually can use all 4 attack cards at this point. Yeah, but at this point just have to try and hit as much as possible to get to the win. Very unfortunate, actually cannot play this card. Would have been loved to actually use another attack card. And this is really the key turn, right? Getting the shield, but unfortunately just getting the Jinx card, the blackmail, those hurts a bit. If Hiki actually managed to draw, actually you can see, right, pretty much at full, so still very strong. But let's see how the opponents actually, okay, vulnerable. Yeah, how does the opponent even get through? The Ronin, okay, does it? Not too sure. Yeah, I think that's a draw, is it? Yeah, okay, it's a draw. So yeah, I see how it works now. It is a draw, so it's not really a loss, but then of course because of the difference in the elo, this is why it counted as a loss. But okay, it counted as a loss here, but it's actually a draw, so you can see actually it's still pretty strong. Can't even get to somewhere that you can find a proper loss, and you probably have to go back to here to find a loss. Tell you what, might as well just do this. It's gonna be a longer video, but maybe if you of course want to watch to the end, then we do see how you might be able to get through this team, and I assume this one is a genuine loss at this point, so let's just see. Okay, alright, so pause again and see if they actually have the same runes and charms. I do think so. I think it looks the same here. Yeah, and they do have this as well. So in a way, yes. Yeah, so okay, let's see what is interesting about the opponent. So just a pretty typical Aqua. Rage. Okay, maybe that is how you get through this, right? To get some rage stuff going on. The bleed might be interesting as well. Vulnerable is definitely a must. And Axie Kiss probably helps as well to chip down the opponent. And then, yeah, very strong Hungry Bird. A lot of feathers as well. Wow, interesting. 2 of these feathers and Raven's Tactic. So a lot of epic stuff that opponents has already. So let's just see. Okay, let's see how this game goes. It's the Sakura first turn as usual, and maybe okay, so just hitting the bleed, definitely interesting. And I also do want to learn, okay, Mavis I think is still probably one of the key factor, because one of the weakness I guess of Hiki's team is that can't really deal with Mavis that efficiently. The only thing that's can hit the Mavis is the Kotaro. That is a 50-50 in that sense, and the opponent does manage to get a vulnerable. Yeah, even though yes, still skin, vulnerable, sort of cancel each other out, sort of. But yeah, still very tough to get through. Opponents does have the Mavis, so they do have more energy to play with, or rather more cards to play with in terms of per energy. Yeah, so you do get a free energy card, attack card. I mean, so maybe that would help. So yeah, so this case can actually play every single card. Yep, here, okay, so this is the combo as well, right? You use your either Cottontail or the Nemo to heal up your Mavis, then your Mavis will survive for another 2 turns basically, and that can hurt because yeah, it's playing around the Kataro as well, because you can see the taunt. Very luckily this turn getting a taunt, and yeah, so Hiki realizing that it's not gonna hit the not gonna gain any value because opponent has a taunt, so the Kataro will hit into the same target. Wow, okay, so another feather, a lot of feathers happening now. Yeah, do use up the feather as well. I think the feather might help with just the extra damage and getting the bleed. Yeah, ultimately I think it is the Mavis that is the key ingredient in getting through this team, and not many people are playing Mavis, so or playing birds in general. So maybe that's why this team has been pretty successful. And even if you see our last game with the Mavis, still pretty strong. As in, like, Hiki's team still managed to get a draw despite opponents using the Mavis multiple turns. But you can see, okay, this time round, right, Mavis does get a lot of value, and you can see Hiki's team is really get chipped down quite significantly. Yeah, with the bleed as well, because every time you use a card you do lose a bit of health, so those all add up, I would say. Okay, vulnerable, okay, death mark. Yeah, doing that first probably is good, because then every time you use an energy to attack, does lose 15 health. Interesting that, yes, you can see, right, how the opponent valued the Mavis, and you can see how they also save the Mavis. Very strong, right? Having the eggshell, and this is the turn where they put up a Mavis, and unfortunately for Hiki, yeah, realizing that again, the eggshell saving the Mavis, because the Kataro will always hit into the taunt, and drawing the Kataro that turn is also pretty rough for Hiki, I would say. Yeah, so opponent is just really doing 4 attacks per turn every turn, which just makes it very tough. And you can see the front going down already, and like both of these actually are basically at mid health, and full hand as well. So it does have quite a bit of heal that's stored. So yeah, so now you're really using up everything, but you can see, right, by using up these heals, ultimately at the end there's just not much, yeah, not much healing left. You can see, right, pretty much used up all of the healing possible. Yeah, so I would say still pretty close. Yeah, you can see Mavis doing its job as well, putting a discount, and then you can see how the opponent really values the Mavis. So this is the turn where Hiki might be able to take down the Mavis if they get the Kataro. Yeah, the Kataro probably has to come out, and just unfortunate didn't hit the Mavis. If it did hit the Mavis, maybe Hiki still had a chance, but it was a 50-50 in a way. So it just didn't work out. You can see, right, if that turn did hit the Mavis, I think it is gonna be a very different result, and still you can see very hard to get through. It's only with the help of the Mavis that can actually deal a bit more. And Fury mode, I think this is the key, right? This surviving, getting the Fury mode does quite a bit extra damage, and this, I think this extra damage does manage to get through. So if he can manage to actually KO the front just now as well, that could also, well, basically deny the opponent that particular Fury mode. Yeah, that I guess the opponent has been working towards. Yep, now it's really just trying to heal as much as possible. Still not easy to get through, so let's see. Yeah, because if the Mavis is not here, you can see, right, it's also very difficult to get through. But having this death mark also helps quite a bit, because it does chip the back down to Blood Moon. And yeah, I think it's really just down to Mavis. And Mavis gets the job done with the sword, and that is GG with the Blood Moon. Wow, very, very strong. So it takes this kind of a bit of luck, but also really a perfect play, getting the Mavis, like using its full value every time there's Mavis going down, then you put another Mavis up, right? And whew, that's I would say satisfying to watch how much extra damage you do need, right? Every turn playing 4 energies worth of attack cards, and even so still just manage to get through. So wow, that really shows how Hiki's team is very strong. And yeah, do leave me a comment below if you do have any idea of how to really get through this kind of sustained build, and maybe it could be a nerf target given how strong it is at the moment. Okay, so this is it for today. So thank you for staying to the end, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my video, do consider giving me a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, and use my Lenosian code Morris. Thanks again and have a good one.